Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandia, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com. Happy holidays from the bar room. Danny Shimon, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm in the mood here. We got the Christmas background going. We got a snowman up there in the corner. We got some snowflakes all around. Looks pretty there. Like the decorate of the room there.
I haven't seen this much snow since I used to do cocaine in the 80s.
Wow. Okay.
By the way, I want to say happy birthday to Vinny Parisi of the bar room. He shares a birthday with none other than Dick Butkus. He was born number 50 at Illinois, but 51 with the Chicago Bears. Did you ever see or study any Dick Butkus tape while you were growing up as a Chicago Bear fan?
No, I never broke him. I never broke his tape down. Obviously, it was before my time, but obviously, you see some of those highlights. There was one today that was playing. I think I saw it on Twitter where where it was a failed extra point, and he catches the extra point, and then he just kind of he's teasing or taunting the defender. The defender just swipes the ball out of his hand. So exactly it was a little badass there. So, but happy birthday to Vinny. Happy birthday, Vinny, man. Hope we meet him anymore.
Vinny's doing a great job here at the barroom, as are everyone else, as is everyone else that works here. We're really proud of the stuff that we're doing. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's episode because as the way Danny and I work this is I asked him, think about a theme for the show. And he immediately responded and said, let's talk about the running game, right?
Yeah, I need you to help me out, Aldo. I need you to tell me, why does Matt Nagy hate the running game?
He's a former quarterback. That's why.
I don't understand it. And then we're going to have some tape here to back it up here. But this game here against the Cardinals, you and I talked last week. This is going to be, an uphill battle, right, for the Bears. Shorthanded. They got lucky. Roquan Smith played. Obviously, he wasn't 100%, but I think he was still effective enough to be out there and make some solid plays. Shorthanded on offense with no Allen Robinson. No Justin Fields. You're going with your backup quarterback. And, you're running the ball effectively in that first half. Right. Mm-hmm. And you're gashing them with 8 yards, 15 yards. And then all of a sudden, in the second half, I counted as I went through the tape. And as I was watching the game, I felt like, wait, why is David Montgomery not being used here? And I went back after you watched the tape and I kind of broke down the plays. I counted 9 running attempts in the second half, 8 by Montgomery and one by Khalil Herbert. And I don't know why he went away from that. Now, I understand that the early turnovers, they got down a little bit, but they kind of got themselves back into the game there. It was a 2-score game. You hold that ball, you possess the football, you get the ball away from the offense, right? Mm-hmm. From the Cardinals, high-flying offense. And then you also can just kind of wind them down. And, every coach that I've talked to, defensive coach, offensive coach, you name it, they've always told me, if you, as an offensive unit, can run the ball down the throat of a defensive team, mm-hmm. it breaks their will. It breaks them in terms of the physicality. We've had other coaches come on and say just the physicality, knowing down in and down out. You're gonna have to take on a blocker if you're a linebacker. If mm-hmm. you're a defensive lineman, you might have to get up a double team. That physically wears down on a defense, and you just get stronger and stronger. And this team, this offensive line, who has come, in my opinion, has gotten better throughout the season. it's better at run blocking than it is at pass blocking. Although it's gotten better at pass blocking as well, but it's better at run blocking. And that's why I wanted to kind of show some tapes here. I'm like, it was working. It was effective in the first half. Why go away from it? So that's why I need you guys to help me understand, because I don't get it. Yeah. Why does Matt Nagy hate the running game?
I think maybe it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that he wants to get fired, perhaps. Look at this. I got the play-by-play from ESPN. I'll share this with you, and you are absolutely right. What happens is, the game is, as you can see from the top up here, it's 21-7 at the half, and the Cardinals get the ball at the start of the third quarter, and they score a field goal. So let me see, where am I at? End of the second quarter. So they take a 9-play drive, score a field goal, and it's 24-7. Now the Bears score on a 13-play drive to make it 24-14. Then the defense comes out and gets the Cardinals to punt on 5 plays. So here's an opportunity for the Bears to get to 24-21. So what happens on 1st down and 2 at their own 1st down and 10 at their own 2-yard line? Dalton throws a pass to Demir Bird. Nice pickup, 7 yards. 2nd down and 3, passing complete to Bird. 3rd down and 3, Dalton short middle pass to Mooney for 12 yards. Okay, we're moving the ball now out of the shadow of our own end zone. Then it's 1st and 10 at the 21. Herbert, this is the only run of the series. Herbert runs for 5 yards. And then an incomplete pass to Mooney. Then Dalton is sacked, and all of a sudden you're looking at 4th down and 16.
And that Herbert run was a 5-yard run. It wasn't like he was stopped, behind the line of scrimmage or no gain. He gained 5 yards, right? Mm-hmm. So now keep working that football, keep working pushing it down the throat. And then then I watched Monday night's football game between the Patriots and the Bills. Yeah. And here's Bill Belichick. And this is why I think Bill Belichick is one of the great coaches of all time. He goes into a game in which division game, high profile game, national spotlight. He doesn't give a shit if it looks pretty. He just wants to win. And those weather conditions, his quarterback, he just felt like a rookie quarterback, doesn't have the arm strength to be able to get that ball downfield and get it through that nasty wind that was there in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. They ran the ball 46 times. I believe I saw something I stat on ESPN. They only have 4 different run plays, but they sign up in different formations, different personnel. They just kind of mix things around, but it was just 4 different run plays. And they ran the ball down the throat of the Buffalo Bills. They won a divisional game on the road in inclement weather by running the ball 46 times and passing it only 3 times. Matt Nagy, if he was in that same situation, would make Andy Dalton throw 45 times in that type of weather.
That is true.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Do you want to win? Like you call it. Maybe he wants to get fired. Maybe he's trying to go out there. Maybe he's trying to build his resume. Say, hey guys, look, I got this quarterback. This is my system. And for a future employer, but look what we can do with my quarterback and my system. It's not my fault. Well,
I think there may have been some of that. I mean, going into the game, I thought to myself, this is Matt Nagy's opportunity to show that his offense can work. And so going up against the Arizona Cardinals, he wants Andy Dalton to go out there and light it up. And it just did not happen. The very first possession of the game for the Chicago Bears, they throw an interception. That was a terrible pass by Dalton to Grant.
Yeah, and then obviously it was off base. Grant jump up, was behind him a little bit, jump him, tipped it, and that we call a tip drill. The defender gets in, and first 10 inside the 20-yard line, inside the red zone for the Cardinals. So
exactly,
it was just infuriating to see, why. Just if it's working, why go away? If it's not broke, why fix it, right? And then that's the thing that I think Matt Nagy's done his entire coaching career here in Chicago, is just continue to go away from the run game. And I just came away from that game saying, why does he hate run the football?
Well, let's take a look at some of the effective runs. You've picked out 3 of them for us to look at. And as always, we start with the broadcast copy, and then we go to the different angle provided by NFL.com. The end zone is what we're going to focus on here because we're talking the run game. So here's the very first play that you picked out. Danny, take it away.
Yeah, so this is a 9-yard run by David Montgomery. Again, I look at the offensive line, inside zone blocking. You take a look at the way 68 and 75 do that double team there. We have Whitehair and the Mustafa also here start off here that they do a double team as well. So that in zone blocking where they're double teaming their guys and kind of flowing the defenders out of the way, right? So the play action is going to the right here, and you see them do a nice job of just creating that flow, getting those defenders moving to laterally, and then you see Mustafa getting out to the second level linebacker. And also Jesse James here does a nice job of kind of chipping there with Peters initially, and then you see him then double back and get the backside defender, which is Chandler Jones. Make sure he doesn't come crashing down the line to get David Montgomery. What it all does is it gives Montgomery the ability to go ahead and cut back, find that little crease, that lane, hit it upfield for a nice 9-yard gain. Again, I'm just want to highlight that this was working. Their blocking was working on Sunday. And again, all three of these players are going to be in the first half. So I just want to see why not build off of what you're doing here in the first half. This is the way it's supposed to be. If you're an offensive line coach, you love seeing this. This is chemistry in motion here. All 7 blockers here are doing a good job. Even Cole Kmet 1-on-1 against Marcus Golden, the edge rusher there. Nice job of turning him, kicking him out. He's not even a factor in the play. So neither of the edge guys can crash down on the running back. Again, moving these guys laterally to the right, allowing Montgomery to go ahead and see that cut back lane, and just hit upfield and get that 9-yard gain.
Yeah, and this could have gone a lot more if he would have got a block from, I believe it's Mooney.
Yep.
Yeah, Mooney.
Just hold that guy a little bit more. You have one-on-one safety in the open field. Who knows what happens there? And David Montgomery is great in terms of his ability to bounce off of contact and continue to get upfield. So yeah, if Mooney's able to hold his blocks, and that's one of the things we talked about. Remember last week in terms of Darnell Mooney, I want to see him get better at, and that's just blocking in the run game as well.
Yep, exactly. All right, so that's the first one you picked. Let's move now to the second run play that you picked up.
Yeah, so this is a 15. This is a part of a 15 play, 77-yard drive that chewed up almost 8 minutes of time of possession here. 13-yard run by David Montgomery. Jimmy Graham, nice kick out block here on the edge defender Isaiah Simmons. Take a look at the double team there by Borum and Daniels here. And then look at Borum here, does a nice job of going in and be able to kind of elevate there off that chip, double team, get to that next level, seal off that next level defender. But again, Jesse James and Jason Peters on the other opposite end of the offensive line also do a nice job of double teaming. So, that zone running scheme was working here. Again, I just want to illustrate, and they were creating some gaps here. We'll take a look at this one here. Go ahead and let it run here, Aldo, and see Borum get up there to the next level, create that nice, huge lane for David Montgomery, just hit it upfield there. Another 13-yard gain right there. So this offensive line, and I'm going to keep saying this, the run blocking was there. All right, they were doing the job. They were winning at the line of scrimmage. Now, were they blowing the Cardinals way off the line of scrimmage? No, but what they're designed to do with the inside zone blocking and the way they play right now is just move these guys laterally, and they had the Cardinals moving laterally. They had the edge guys blocked out. They were creating those creases, those lanes for the running back. And like the earlier play we showed you, the ability to be able to read the blocking by Montgomery and able also pick and find that cutback lane as well. So this, for me, was just the offensive line, again, in motion, playing perfectly here on these 2 run blocks.
Yeah, I love the double team action. Larry Borum and Daniels on the right there. And then, as you said, 75, Borum gets out to that second level. And once again, Mooney up right side of the screen there. If he makes a block here, maybe Montgomery goes close to midfield. Who knows?
Right. And again, we talked about Mooney got to get stronger, put some more added muscle, maybe to hold on to those blocks, sustain those blocks. But also I was talking about, in terms of making pass catches, being able to hold on to that football and make contested catches. But yeah, Darnell Mooney definitely is going to have to get that weight room, in my opinion, and get about 5 to 10 pounds of good solid muscle. But the one thing I do want to point out here, guys, is Larry Borum has really impressed me in terms of his play at right tackle. For me, I think he solidified his spot there at right tackle. We talked about, in previous shows how he has lost weight. I think it was between 35 to 40 pounds since his college tape in Missouri's last year. And you see his agility here to be able to get to that next level defender and be able to seal him off. The linebacker is not even a factor in this play here. Bourne does a nice job of getting 10, 15 yards downfield here and sealing off that guy. And that's something that I do like to see. Obviously, one thing he has to get better at, Borum as well, is his lower body strength, his core strength. There are times where he opens up his chest because he plays with an elevated pad level, and you see a defender get up in his pad and kind of walking backwards. There's a couple of snaps here on pass protection where he got bullied back a little bit, but he's a rookie. He's gonna have time to hit an NFL offseason and work in that weight program and get stronger in that lower body. But once he develops that, this is a kid that so far has shown me some real positive signs here, and it could be a key contributor at right tackle going forward for the Bears on the offensive line.
The other thing that I'd like to say is, I think on all three of these plays, Jimmy Graham makes good blocks. And the narrative that Jimmy Graham can't block, that's an old narrative from his days with the Seahawks. It was true then, but over the years, he's gotten better at blocking because he has recognized that he doesn't have those pass catching skills like he used to. So he has to show his value. And I think that he's just done an average or better than average job blocking. I heard Rex Ryan this week, make a joke about Jimmy Graham can't block, blah, blah, blah. And just that's not true anymore. The guy can block. And in this particular play here, it's all about positioning, isn't it?
It's all about positioning. Also, he takes on a defender, Isaiah Simmons, who's a converted linebacker / safety. So he's a guy that's not really strong in the lower base, and he does a nice job of just kind of reusing his athletic ability to kind of move him out and let his momentum take him out. So yeah, does a nice job. I think does his job, basically helps create that lane, seals off the edge defender. So, and Jesse James too has done a nice job in my opinion, in terms of being able to help out on chip blocks and also be able to, in some of these plays here, he does a good job of sustaining Chandler Jones, who, no more for his pass rushing ability, but still he's not a horrible run defender. So, but yeah, both tight ends I think do a good job, and I think Cole Kmet's getting better. In terms of being an inline blocker. Now he's got some ways to go, but still you see some positivity there in terms of him being able to be a pretty good, reliable blocker, lined up in line at that wide position.
The other impressive thing here is number 71, Peters. We talked about how over the years, him getting to the second level, he hasn't been as good as he has been as in his Pro Bowl years. But on this play and a number of the other ones that you've highlighted, he does a really good job of getting out to the second level. It's 71 to left tackle here.
Yep, all 7 guys in these run plays do a good job of fulfilling their assignments. Now, Peters, that does get there. If that defender if the run was coming behind him, will he be able to sustain that block? That's where we always having some problems with these quicker twitcher guys, being able to a little more athletic in him. The guy is 39 years old. I think he's done a hell of a job in terms of being a solid left tackle for the Bears this year, really coming out of nowhere. And after having a couple of rough first 2-3 weeks of the season, really kind of got his legs underneath him there. And I think he's done a solid job at left tackle. And like we talked about last week, I wouldn't be totally opposed to maybe bringing him back and seeing if he wants to be, in a competition with hopefully a rookie, high draft pick, to at that left tackle, because he's done so well. And, he stayed healthy, relatively healthy so far. I think he did even miss that game with that quad injury. I know he left the game early with a quad injury, but I wasn't sure if he missed the game. I couldn't remember.
I don't think he missed the game. I think he came back the following week. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's for a 39-year-old guy. We've talked about this guy's a physical freak, terrific athlete, big, nimble guy. And at 39, still getting it done in the NFL, guys.
Does it bother you that Tevin Jenkins this week said, that I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I'm kind of happy sitting right now and learning from Peters, Jason Peters. He's going to the Hall of Fame. I can soak up all this knowledge and so forth. He didn't sound like a guy that was just anxious to get out there. Does that bother you at all? Or is that kind of, he's being mature?
He's just being a good rookie. He's just been a good rookie because you don't want to step on anybody's toes. I mean, you came in here injured, and then now you're just finally getting healthy, and you don't want to come in and say, all right, I deserve to start because I was a second round pick, So, like I said, I don't see a spot here where you would start Tevin Jenkins. The only thing is, if you want to move Sam Mustipher and then move James Daniels to center, and then you can probably plug in Tevin Jenkins at right guard if you want to see the kid play. But now you're disrupting this unit that has, like I said, has been playing well for the latter part of these, these last few weeks here. So do you want to do that? I don't know if you want to do that right now, especially with putting Justin Fields back in there, the rookie quarterback, and with those, so far, they're according to what they're saying, he's healed in terms of his ribs, but they got to still be tender. So it'll be a little bit sore there. So you want to try and limit his exposure to big hits and to put Jenkins in there out there. Now, if someone gets hurt, right? Obviously you don't want that. If someone gets hurt, you throw him back in, you throw him in there and see what he does, just kind of like learn under the fire there. But I don't think you pull someone out right now, just put Tevin Jenkins in there just to get him, reps, because obviously then you're gonna, like I said, ruin the cohesiveness and the chemistry of this offensive line. Right. The one scenario I just played out with Mustipher could happen if you wanted to, but then we'll see if, as the season goes on, they get married towards end like 2 or 3 weeks in the season, see if they want to kind of give him some more action, some reps there, some live reps, if you will. But I think Borum has taken over that right tackle spot. And I don't think Borum can play left tackle. So I know some people are clamoring for him to be switched over to left tackle. I don't think Borum can play left tackle. I think you keep him right tackle. I think you put Jenkins in a right guard and see where it goes from there.
Very good. All right. Here's the third play you chose for us.
Yeah, so this is a 24-yard run by David Montgomery, and one thing again we're gonna highlight the tight ends right on the edge defenders. They're single up on those edge defenders. Nice job of just manning up and getting in their way, and then we saw the inside zone again. Here we saw double teams by Peters and Whitehair. We see double teams there by James Daniels and Mustafa, and then again Borum getting to that next level, second level defender, being able to seal off and create that nice huge running lane there for Montgomery. And then obviously Montgomery, nice, strong, stiff arm. We talked about his contact power, his contact balance, hits a defender and continues going upfield, but maybe about 20 more yards there. So, these plays were working, guys, in the first half. You were getting chunk plays here. We talked about an 8-yard, 13-yard, here's a 24-yard run. Why go away from these plays, right? Just like I always talked about with the Patriots, make them stop you. If they can't stop you, then why are you stopping yourself? And I think to have these guys, Montgomery finished with 21 carries, but like I said, only 8 touches or 8 carries in the second half. Now he was more involved in the passing game, but still, he was, to me, this is where he was effective at, in terms of heading the ball off and having run up, up the side or outside, depending on how the blocking scheme was set up. But why go away from this, right? Why go away from this? I don't understand. And this is why I kind of wanted to just point it out to you guys and say, this was working. The offensive line was blocking. The run game was working. But yet Matt Nagy wanted Andy Dalton to throw 41 times. And what happened? He threw 4 interceptions.
Unbelievable. And man, I got to tell you, I've been impressed just as a gut feel and watching from week to week over the last few weeks that the offensive line as a unit is just playing a lot better. I mean, this is sort of like what happened last year, that the offensive line started getting better towards the last half of the season as guys got healthy. There were some injury problems. There were some changes made and who started, and they moved things around, and the line started playing pretty well the last 4, 5, 6 games of last season. And now we're seeing the same thing, but they've started playing better maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Don't you think?
Well, that's the thing. It's and I think it goes a little bit further than that. I think it corresponds last year and this year when Laser took over play calling. I think he made more of a committed attempt to run the football as opposed to what Nagy does. And I know Nagy, there's a whole thing this game here with the walkie-talkie, and he was claiming that the headset went out and Laser was relaying the call to him, and he was calling it to Andy Dalton. I don't know if Laser during the week I haven't seen any of the press conferences. Has he confirmed that was that the case there? Was Matt Nagy calling those plays there? Because that sure looked like a Matt Nagy offensive script there in the second half with only 9 rushing attempts after you've been running successfully in that first half on the team. But yes, to answer your question, the identity on the Bears offense is to run football. They are a running team. And Matt Nagy refuses to admit that. Now, I did see something that was very interesting. They did sign a fullback, Mason from Michigan. That guy's a bruising fullback. I'm curious to see if they're going to activate him. I know he's on the practice squad. I'm curious to see if they're going to activate him for this game and use a lead blocker because every time they've done that, they put David Montgomery or even they've put in Khalil Herbert in that I formation with a lead blocker. Usually it's JP Holtz, which is they're one of their tight ends. They're effective running the football. So you put a guy like a bruiser, like a fullback like Mason in front of Montgomery there, run out of the I formation. That's something that I would like to see a lot more of as well.
Right. Now, to answer your question about the walkie-talkie thing, Nagy said that the play, Laser calls the play, it comes down to him, and he sends it to the quarterback. I guess he wants to have his last final say in it. He wants to be in Dalton's ear for some reason. So I don't know why that is, particularly because Justin Fields said earlier that when he was hearing Laser in the headsets, he liked that better because Laser was calmer, and Matt Nagy seems to get too excitable, and that made perhaps Fields too excitable. So it's Laser still calling the plays, but Nagy is the intermediary. I don't understand why that's going on.
I thought I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he said that the Laser's communication into the helmet of Dalton went out, so that's why he became the intermediate guy, where Laser was talking to him, and he was relying with the walkie-talkie to Dalton. That's how I understood it.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I misunderstood it. Okay.
Yeah, he should not be getting anywhere involved in a play calling.
Nope, none whatsoever. So I got some sound bites here that I want us to react to. The first one is our guy, Justin Fields, quarterback Justin Fields, talked about his injury situation and how he's dealing with the pain that he has. And this is what he said.
I feel good. Good, like I'll be ready to play. I mean, yeah, there's pain there, but I mean the pain's just not unbearable. Like I know there's gonna be pain there, but I mean it is what it is. You have 3 cracked ribs. Of course there's gonna be pain. So as long as it's just not like crazy pain where I can't bear it, I'm gonna play and practice. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be smart this upcoming game with not taking as many hits as I usually do. So of course I'm gonna be smart about that and be cognizant about that for sure.
Gonna wear anything underneath to protect your ribs?
Yeah, I usually wear something, so yeah, I will.
How concerned are you that he is experiencing some pain still? Now, he said it's not anywhere near the kind of pain he had after that rib injury at Ohio State, but it's still painful. Does that concern you at all?
It does. It does concern me because these are, unless they're fully healed. And I know they weren't full, like fractures, obviously, but they were like, small cracks in his ribs, but unless they're fully healed. And my biggest concern, another big shot, maybe, he maybe breaks a rib, and that God forbid you want to have that happen. Right. So that's the one thing is, if Justin was going to go and sit out this game, I wouldn't fault him, or I wouldn't fault the Bears actually, if just kind of, play on the safe side, be a little more, cautious with him. But, obviously the kid wants to play, and obviously, the Bears brass want him out there to kind of see, how he develops here. So, he says he's going to be smart about it. There are times he's taken, in my opinion, some unnecessary hits. I think, there was the one that played against Pittsburgh on the sideline with Micah Fitzpatrick. I don't think he needed to take that hit. It wasn't like he was going to challenge for a first down or anything like that. Just step out of bounds and just kind of, live on to the next play. That's the thing you got to learn here in the NFL is this is not Michigan. This is not Indiana University. These are big boys here in the NFL, and they're going to, whether it's defensive backs or their linebackers, they're going to come down and they're going to hurt you. So the one thing to look for is if he's on the ground, seeing if any of these Packers guys kind of jump on top of the pile, just kind of put some more pressure on him and those ribs. So I know he said he's going to wear protection. He always wears protection. I just hope whatever protection he's wearing is better than what he was wearing when he got hurt. So do another job of just, and I'm sure he's going to take a shot. He's going to take a pain shot just to kind of numb that area so he doesn't feel it during the game. But I just my concern is don't take any big hits and protect yourself. Be smart. Obviously, you're the future of this franchise, and we don't want you going down with any sort of long-term injury here.
Alexander Hall says, no way should Fields play at any circumstance. Nagy going to kill his career himself. You have no reason to play Fields. Why? And I've heard this a lot too. Like Jay Cutler said, there's no reason Justin Fields should be out there. A lot of other very knowledgeable commentators on television, I've heard the same thing. Just, why? If you're going to change coaches, why is you going to subject them to learning, to being out there with an offense that's going to change? My feeling is these are snaps. These are snaps. This is about seeing the opposing defense. And trust me, he can learn another offense. It's not like him not playing. He's going to like forget the Nagy offense and influence that he's had. He's got to get out there and play. As long as he's healthy, he's got to see what defenses are doing, and he's got to get all that timing, right?
Right, exactly. And the thing is, like, you cannot put these guys in bubbles, right? And you and I are huge Fields fans, and we do not want him to get hurt. But absolutely. I agree with you. He's got to get these snaps under his belt. He's got to get that experience, national TV, Lambeau Field, that crowd, that experience. You want to, be out there, be in that environment, and now run that play, run these plays, and see how he does against some of these, your divisional opponents. So, again, every snap he takes and every mistake he makes this season, it's one less mistake he'll make going down in the future in his career. So you get all that crap out of the way now, all those rookie mistakes out of the way now. It's a lost season, like you guys said. They're not making the playoffs, so might as well get all that experience in now. As long as he cannot injure himself further, right? As long as he's not putting himself in any sort of harm's way. I agree with you. Although he's got to go out there, he's got to get those reps under his belt, and he's got to, continue to progress here. So we had that big game against Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, that first quarter and a half versus the Ravens looked a little choppy there. So he didn't kind of build off that momentum that we talked about. So now he's going to kind of start off scratch here versus the Packers. So that's the one thing that does concern me is that the Packers are going to come after him, and they know he's got injured ribs. So we'll see how it goes. Or hopefully they don't kind of do any sort of cheap shots or anything like that. But in terms of him getting out there, as long as he's healthy, as long as he can protect himself, these reps are important, guys. I know it's not important in terms of the big picture, right? There's going to be a new offense, but remember, he's going to be here with the new offensive staff all off season. Right? He's going to have OTAs, he's going to all that stuff. Remember, as opposed to coming in as a rookie, you come in after the draft, and that's when you start learning in rookie mini camp, the plays and all that crap. So he's going to have multiple, weeks and months to go ahead and learn the new system under this. And plus, a lot of these guys, they run the same kind of plays. They're just different formations. They're just called differently in different offensive systems. And they're, a lot of the stuff is the concepts are pretty much basic concepts, and they're all the same in every single offense. It's just the way the personnel is used, the formation, so on and so forth. So I don't worry about him learning a new offense. Now, do I want him learning a new offense every freaking year that he's in? No, I don't want that. I want him to get comfortable in the system, grow in that system, and get better, right? Because we've seen that happen throughout the years here in Chicago. Namely, Jim Cutler, had multiple offensive coordinators in his duration here with the Bears. So you do not want to have that happen to him. But hopefully, the next hire they make is the guy's going to be here for the duration of Justin Fields' career, and they can grow together in terms of building this offense around Justin Fields. But yes, these reps count. These reps are important because he still has some rookie growing pains he's going to go through, and might as well just get him out of the way now.
Bill Lazor was asked that when he's calling plays, does he have to keep in mind, or does he call plays to protect Justin Fields' ribs? I thought this was interesting. Bill Lazor
being with a coach, a Super Bowl winning coach years ago, and thinking that a certain play was there, it was set up, it was ready to go, and after the game, during the week, we were talking, and it came up. He said, "Well, I just didn't think we were protecting the quarterback as an offense well enough to call a 7-step drop." And so he was just so in tune to, it might be a great scheme, but I got the quarterback, and I can't put him in that position because I'm just watching our line or the amount of blitzes they're bringing, or for whatever reason, he didn't feel comfortable. And he knew it was a good pass scheme to call, but he was going to put the priority on that. So I learned a valuable lesson from that. So I think it's part of all those factors that go into calling the game. And hey, we want explosives. Can we protect it right now? And then obviously his ability to be a runner is another added piece to that.
Is there anything you need to say to him? Hey, be careful. Hey, slide, get out of bounds, anything like that, beyond what you would on another Sunday?
I don't think so. I think he's good. I think he understands. He probably understands better than I do how it feels. I mean, I'm sure it'll be part of the discussion, but I don't want it to sound too elementary. I mean, we all understand.
It's interesting that he says that because Matt Nagy was criticized by Nick Foles himself. Do you remember? Yep. I don't have time to commit this play because there's no pass protection.
Yeah, and he's talking like, and Lazor's talking right now, and I'm thinking, can Matt Nagy go to this coach he was referring to and learn from him? Because Matt Nagy doesn't think like that. Matt Nagy says, this is my play, and I'm going to run it against this person. But you know what? You cannot block a 7-step drop. You cannot allow. The quarterback doesn't have enough time to allow these deep routes downfield to develop, and then that's why you see confusion. You see quarterbacks getting hit. You see interceptions, balls thrown up in the air, and all that stuff. So that's the thing. That's why when you script your first 15 plays, that's it. Not only is how that's your tape study. You say, all right, this is where the defense is weak. This is how we're going to attack them in the first 15 plays. Now after those, you got to see, all right, what worked, what didn't work. Did the deep pass plays downfield, did they work? Were we able to block it up? Now they're making adjustments. Are they bringing extra defenders? Are they blitzing? Are they playing more zone? What's going on the opposing defense? Then you got to adjust. If you're not blocking, four-man rush, then with your 5 offensive linemen, you cannot call deep plays. You got to get the ball out of our hands. So, we've been calling for screen plays all season, and all of a sudden Dalton's in the game, and now there's screen plays. Is that something that Lazor's not calling? Is that something not in for for Fields. Well, why is that? What's going on with those? There's so much inconsistencies here when you see one quarterback play and the other quarterback play, right? So that's why if this is your system, Matt Nagy, no matter what quarterback you put in there, you should be able to run your system. Now, Fields obviously is learning. He doesn't have the experience that Andy Dalton has in terms of mastering the offense, in terms of reading defense coverages. And he's still learning on the fly here. So I understand kind of dumbing down that offense for him, right. But it's still the same concept, right? If you cannot block the defense, you cannot call deep plays on the field. If you're getting killed by the pass rush, and the game against Cleveland, that comes to mind every single time. Those guys were flying off the football, coming at Justin Fields. Throw a screen pass, just kind of temper that pass rush and just say, all right, you know what? Are they setting up a screen here just to kind of give them some other thing to think of other than just pin their ears back and go at the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was at that game in Cleveland. I was yelling out, "What happened to the screen?" Yeah. It was unbelievable. All week long, actually, the last couple of weeks, I've been wondering, what is Justin Fields learning while he's now on the sideline and not in the starting lineup? And that question was addressed to him, and this is his response.
Is there anything you felt like you were able to pick up while you were out watching from the sidelines?
Just little things. From hearing from Nick and Andy, just talking to them, I asked Nick yesterday, what things he saw when I was playing that I could improve on. So we talked about that a little bit. And I definitely picked up a few little minor things, just minor things, within the game of football that will help me. So I mean, Nick, he's a great person. I think he wants to be a coach when he gets older, so he actually loves that stuff when I ask him, what can I do to get better, or what he thinks I should do on this certain play. So he kind of, likes giving me feedback on stuff like that and, teach me. And, I think Nick and Andy, they kind of have different mindsets than the coaches on some plays, and, they might think differently on, some concepts. So I'm always going to get their opinion on a certain play and, how they would look at it, how they would look at the progression and stuff like that. So it's good just hearing different perspectives on, different plays and stuff, and really just breaking it down, making the play as simple as possible in your head.
It's great. A very expensive quarterback coach in Nick Foles, but it is good that there's that dialogue. If they're going to be there, at least they're helping the kid, and there isn't that kind of relationship that we've heard of with other times, including with the Bears, like Tom Zach and McMahon and Flutie and all that whole thing years ago. But it's good that he's relying on Nick Foles, and it's good that Nick Foles wants to be a coach and is coaching up the kid. That's great.
Right, and then we talked about Nick Foles' contract, that he could be the quarterback, next year here, the backup quarterback, in terms of Justin Fields' backup. But yeah, I mean that's something that we touched on earlier in terms of with him sitting these last couple of games, what could he learn? But yeah, breaking down film of that game and say, maybe asking Andy, why would you go this read here versus this defense as opposed to this guy, your other option here. And there's a couple of plays we touched on versus Detroit where Andy missed Darnell Mooney wide open. They can probably go over that and see what he saw, what Dalton saw, and kind of explain to Fields. Maybe he can pick up off of that. So there's a lot of value in terms of sitting down with your coaches and breaking down film, especially when you're in there, you were seeing, you're getting all the bullets flying at you, and things were maybe moving a little bit too fast for you, and you were missing some reads and kind of making some predetermined reads pre-snap, and now you kind of sit back and say, all right, let me see how this veteran does it. You don't want to take those 4 interceptions as anything you want to do for yourself. You get rid of those plays right there. You don't want to throw any 4 interceptions in the game, but and just kind of see like how he progresses. It to me, it looked like, I don't know if you guys agree, it looked like Dalton had more ability at the line of scrimmage to audible, whether to check out of a protection, to change a protection, where you see Fields basically, it looks like what they do is they give him 2 plays in the huddle, and if Fields sees something pre-snap he doesn't like, he just calls kill. That means to go to that second play we called, and that's how they usually happens. And usually the second play is a run play. So, but that's the thing is but Dalton, he had more autonomy at the line of scrimmage. He'd go out there, he checked, he called protection, he checked protection, and he would identify the mic and all that stuff. So, maybe because a veteran, he gets more, ability to go ahead and do that. But, with Fields, like, maybe that's something that he could probably take in and say, all right, what did you see here? Why did you go ahead and check out of this play? Why did you change the protection? Blah, 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 so on and so forth. So, those things are key that could help him in his development as well.
Yeah, and the only other thing about that soundbite that I was concerned with is that he said that Dalton and Fields will look at things differently sometimes, and so maybe that's good because maybe that offers up a different point of view. But if there is kind of a disagreement on certain things, then maybe the message is cluttered and not very effective. So I hope that's not the case with the two of them. Hey, by the way, I got a good question here from the Factor. He says, Danny, what is Nagy's scheme supposed to be good at? Deep passes? Is it based on explosive plays? Any guesses? I still don't know.
So his scheme is just basically look at the Chiefs, right? They want these deep passes down the field. They want to, you know 5-7 sub drops and get the ball downfield to your big play guys. So unfortunately the run game is not something that he utilizes a lot. He talks about it a lot. It talks about how important it is and how to be balanced, but he's never been balanced. So his scheme basically is to try and get these big chunk plays and continue to threaten the defense downfield. The unfortunate part is A, he didn't have a quarterback up until this year to make these plays. B, he didn't have offensive line that really could protect, give the quarterback time to allow these deep routes to go ahead and get developed. And then his receivers were limited, right? But Allen Robinson, we talked about him for, terrific receiver, but not a guy that creates much separation. So pretty much you got to get that ball into a situation where he can go up and make a play on the football. A lot of times defenders, if they're on him, they can go up and they also make a play on football as well. So a lot of things just didn't work here with Matt Nagy. And unfortunately, he just wasn't able to adjust. And that's the thing is, like, if your scheme isn't working, you need to adjust. You need to find things that do work, that eventually, once you finally get that quarterback in place, once you finally get that offensive line fixed, once you finally get some of those speed guys in there, you can go ahead and then run your plays. But unfortunately with Nagy, he just wasn't able to adjust.
Right. Bill Lazor was asked about Justin Fields' ups and downs through the course of the season, and he was asked, how do you help a young quarterback through those ups and downs?
Easy to afterwards to look back and see the games as up and downs, and we probably lived through series up and downs and drives up and downs and halves up and downs. It's just there's so many decisions and so many throws that a quarterback has to make in a game, so you just keep going. And I think what guys learn and what you hope for and what the good ones can do is they can see something happen on the field, whether it was a mistake they made or whether it was just something that happened, especially something unforeseen, unscouted, and learn from it on the field. Maybe even before they get to the sideline and look at it on pictures and say, okay, I see what they're doing with their safeties. I see their plan. They're trying to fool me today. I got it. Next time I see that, I'm going to move on. So there's just so many of those up and down. There's so many of those situations that are going to occur, and some of it will turn into downs because we got fooled, we got unexpected, or something new happened, and he just needs to kind of turn them into the positives. And I guess I'm just gonna be really disciplined in answering in that long-term, steady, consistent way about Justin. I mean, that's because that's the truth. I mean, so I'm just gonna keep. I feel like I keep getting asked those questions. I'm just gonna keep pushing them back to better on each one, up and down. I'm not trying to avoid the questions, but I think as a coach, that's what you have to do. You just have to set that example. Just keep rolling, keep going, keep getting better.
And that's why Fields has to play.
Has to learn. And this is where we talk about making adjustments, right? On the fly. You script those first 15 plays based off of your tape study and what they've done in previous games. But now, they have a game plan, they being the defense, the opponent. So now they're going to start, playing games with you in terms of dropping a safety back in coverage or maybe bringing them up into playing that robber position so you can, jump these balls in the middle of the field because that's how you came in designed to attack this defense. Now you saw that, right? You saw that on tape. Now you go back and now you kind of make those adjustments. Say, all right, if I see this formation and this personnel, I know what they could do here. So I'm going to be cognizant of that. But yes, that's stuff you make those in-game adjustments. And that again is the reps, right? And my job, and I'm sure in your job, Aldo, we all make mistakes, right? We've done things where you think we've got it all down pat, and then all of a sudden, oh man, we made a mistake there. But you put a little memory back in your brain there and say, what? Next time that happens again, I'm not making the same mistake again. So same thing happens with quarterback play. It's just kind of like your job. You got to trial by error. You got to make these mistakes. That's why you get all these things out of the way now. So by the time next year comes around, hopefully with a better offensive staff around him, he'll be more adept at seeing these things, live, post snap once they're happening on the field, and he'll be able to be better equipped to go ahead and adjust to what the defense is doing to him.
Every freaking show, I make mistakes, and some of them, unfortunately, the same mistake.
That's the best way I learn is I make a mistake and I'm like, all right, I ain't doing that again.
There you go. Bill Lazor was asked a really good question. I wish I knew the name of this reporter. It was a female reporter. It didn't sound like Colleen Kane, and it didn't sound like Deion Miller, so I'm not sure who it was, but she asked a very good question about
maybe Stacey Dales from NFL Network. She's up there too, covering.
No, it didn't. Maybe it was Stacey. I'm not sure, but anyway, the question was, how do you establish consistency when every week at practice you got certain key guys out? And so how can you develop consistency with your offense? And of course, that's a huge challenge for Lazor. I thought his response was pretty good.
I think first, and this is not a specific answer, but first it would be, can I provide a level of consistency for them during the week? So maybe moving parts of different people in and out can cause some concern, but can in some way they look to me and see, hey, Bill's getting his job done. He's preparing the way he prepares. He's presenting the way he presents. I mean, we know we've got that. So maybe I can present a sense of calm and steadiness to them. Number one, again, that's not real specific like you asked, which was a good question, but maybe that's part of my role. And then I think you just have to help them realize this is the NFL and things happen. And we were all in training camp together and through the routes. Sometimes we threw them together. So, hey, guess what? You're back. And when the quarterbacks are changing and the receivers are changing, sometimes you're throwing guys that you were on the scout team with 2 weeks before. And that's feeling sorry for ourselves doesn't get us anything. So we have to be real conscious of what we choose to work on the practice field, like make great decisions. Okay, these are the things that could come up that we probably need to get these two guys together on. And you don't have, especially this time of year, practice starts cutting back a little bit because of injuries and guys' bodies. And so you just have to make really good decisions on what are the things we need physically on the practice field, and what are the things can we just kind of work out in the room. But those aren't easy decisions because there's a lot.
You almost feel for the guy, How can you get a functioning offense with so many injuries and, frankly, some of the depth pieces that Ryan Pace has provided this offensive coaching staff is not very good.
Well, for me, and this might be too of a simple of an answer, but you do what you do best right now. And right now is running the football. And that's why I harped on this in the beginning of the show. And I said, this offense was running the football effectively versus the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And I know they're down. I know they're down by at least 10 points, at the point we just worked on that tape there. But you're getting chunk plays, 5, 7, 8, 9, 15-yard runs, continue pounding the football. And that, to me, is how you build an offense. You build it at the line of scrimmage, right? Once you get the offensive line going, once you get the running game going, now it opens up everything up now, because now we've talked about it before. We talked about the play action, getting those linebackers sucked in because now they're expecting you to run the football. And now you hit them over the top with a crossing, with a scissors route where the receivers are crossing, get DBs kind of give them that natural pick, if you will, get a guy wide open, hit him in stride. Now you got a big chunk play there. That's how you work on it. And again, this might be too simple. But I think there he was talking more so about along the passing game, which something that I guess that everyone's harping on right now is the passing game because the NFL is a passing league now. But what you're trying to do, if you're a coaching staff, first of all, you have injuries to deal with. You're trying to get wins to save your job, and you have a rookie quarterback that you're trying to incorporate into this offense. So for me, everything will start up front. And once you fix that offensive line, once you have a running game going, you build off of that. And that's why every week in and week out, you ask me, Aldo, how the Bears can go ahead and win the next game. Mm-hmm. Establish the line of scrimmage. Establish your ability as a running team to be able to get first downs if you need them. If you need to run 3 times in a row and get a first down and continue to run that ball down the field, do it, and then build off of that. It just, this staff or this head coach just refuses to do that, and they're always looking to make the big plays with the passing attack. And unfortunately, right now, initially they didn't have the pass protection. Right now, they're down in terms of weapons, on the outside with Allen Robinson. It's just basically it's Darnell Mooney and a bunch of guys, Marquise Goodwin really hasn't done much in the league. He's been a speed guy all of his career, and he's pretty much the same thing, and he's hurt. We got guys coming off the practice squad. Rodney Adams had a great training camp, drops that first attempt that was thrown to him. It would have been a first down. So, you're playing with guys that may not be NFL quality receivers now. So I don't know why you keep emphasizing the passing attack when you should be doing what you do best right now, and that's run the football.
Yep, I totally agree. And I agree with Funky Toe, who says that Nagy might have saved his job if he would have embraced the fact that the identity of the team is run. I mean, that's the strength of the team.
And the other thing is the defense now is hurt, right? Defense, who was what you're relying on to keep you in these games. Now they're giving up chunk plays and they're getting hurt. Max out, Hicks is out. Robert Quinn has been playing great the whole season. Roquan Smith has been great, but he's got to deal with hamstring. You got safety issues. You got some corners now, being benched. Some come back into the lineup again. It's a mess, and it's just that the thing is but for me, you win the line of scrimmage, you have a better chance of winning the game, and then hopefully your defense can come up with some plays to help you there.
Let's go now. I thought this was a fascinating question. Does the offensive coordinator have to game plan in a way, in a special way, when you're going up against a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers? And so the idea being is, do you want to, play conservatively and eat up the clock and keep him off the field? Or do you want to get into a shootout with him? Or is there some other approach that Aaron Rodgers perhaps dictates what Matt Nagy and Lazar are going to come up with the offense? This is Lazar on that topic.
We've gone into games against good offenses with both philosophies, and that'll be Coach Nagy's decision, kind of on the big picture of how we as a team play, and we've done both. I just try to keep perspective, even in the back of my mind, no matter which strategy he wants to go. I still have to remember that on offense, our job is to score. None of the strategies work. None of the strategies work if you don't score. I remember in college going up against a triple option team years ago, and say, okay, we're gonna keep the ball away from them, slow it down because they're so good, and they run the clock and they keep the ball, right? They did it with the running game and the triple option. Well, all that, just trying to keep the ball, but we didn't score after about however many drives. They were ahead by 3 scores, and now they could just run the ball. So having 18 plays doesn't help if you don't end it with a score. So no matter how we choose to play, we have to score. You have to. That's our job, is to score. Mm-hmm. And then coach can tell us to speed up, slow down, whatever he wants to do. But the number one way to combat a good offense on the other side is to score.
Danny, I'm surprised that the answer to that question is we got whatever it takes to score. Speed ups, go slow, whatever it takes. Now that's essentially what he said, but I would not tell the offense slow it down now, because that they're not adept enough to be playing, in that type of pace. I think it's like, find out where the weaknesses are on the defense of the Packers and attack it and get yards and get points and points and points. I don't know.
And I'll a couple points there. So I think what he was referring to, the way I took it was, he was saying if we need to slow it down, if we have the lead, and now we've been running, speed up to get some points on the board, get some offense going, and now we have the lead. Now we have to kind of keep the ball away from them. Now we slow it down. I think that's how I read it. But my thing, and I've been saying this all season, is this offense is broken. And it's broken because you cannot score points. And that's the name of the game, is scoring points. Whether you're running the ball down the throat of a defense or you're passing it all over the field, you got to score points. And the Bears are, last time I checked, they're second to the bottom in terms of points scored on offense. So that tells you the offense is broken. So, and that's why everybody's talking about, Dalton put up 300 yards versus the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Those are empty stats, because they barely scored 16 points. It took a last-second field goal to give them those last 3 points. So that tells me you're still, even if you're getting 300 yards from a passing quarterback, you're not putting points on the board. And if you're not putting points on the board, guys, your offense is broken. So that's where something I agree with here with Laser, in terms of the key thing is put points on the board. And that's why I'm saying is right now the passing game is hurting, right? It's hurting whether you have a developing quarterback. It's hurting because the weapons on the outside, Robinson's not 100%, and you're basically stuck with Darnell Mooney. Or But the running game is working. The running game is giving you some offense and giving you the ability to hold on to the football, keep guys like Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, the big guy, the big quarterbacks off the football field. Give your defense some time to go and lick their wounds, if you will. And now you just get the ball down the field. And even if you get into the area where you don't get score, obviously you want a touchdown, but if you don't score, at least get a field goal and put some points on the board and get that positive momentum that we've talked about all year long. Build up momentum on offense and get it going. Score points. That's the name of the game. You have to score more points than the opponent, and the Bears just do not do that. And they have not done that, guys, throughout Matt Nagy's tenure here. So that's the thing is like his system. When I say his system is broken, it's broken because he's never been able to put up points. I was at the first 7 or 8 games of his coaching career with the Bears, they were scoring some. They were like middle of the pack in terms of points scored. But after that, once the defensive coordinators got a hold of their tape and saw what he were doing, and he never adjusted. He never adjusted to that. A lot of it was thrown on Trubisky's feet in terms of his ability to get the ball downfield with accuracy. He brought in Nick Foles, and that didn't work. Then I'm talking about the offensive line. Then he brought in Dalton, now Justin Fields. It's the system. It does not work. The system is not designed, at least his system is not designed to put up points on the board.
Yeah, that's for sure. It seems like every Bears offense in the history of the team is not designed to score points. This is now Sean Desai being asked about Aaron Rodgers and his propensity to make big plays, off-schedule plays when he gets out of the pocket. And how are you going to stop him? And does he think that the toe injury that Aaron Rodgers is playing with, is that going to be an issue for Rodgers and maybe keep him in the pocket? So this is Sean Desai on stopping Aaron Rodgers, and it's right here.
Yeah, my time here for sure. The off-schedule plays show up, but quite honestly, they've showed up over the last month, also on tape. So no, I don't think on tape it doesn't seem like it's limiting him much in terms of the way he wants to play the game, the way he wants to throw the ball, where he wants to get it, when he can escape the pocket, and he's still making plays that way. So we're preparing for the same Aaron Rodgers that we've been preparing for a long time.
Is it possible to play out of character against him because he knows you so well? Like over the years, the Bears have not blitzed a lot, and blitzing usually doesn't work against him. But is there any way to throw something? How do you throw something at him that he hasn't seen? Do you have to play out of character to do that?
Yeah, it's similar to every game. We got to play to our strengths and what we think we can do best, and try to manage what we think they do best, and try to limit their opportunities. And so, however we do, we're not here to reinvent the wheel and reinvent a whole new defense. We got a lot of time invested in our defense, and we thought we played them pretty good the last time we played them. It wasn't good enough, and we know that we know where we fell short, but we're going to build off that and try to create some different matchups and different issues that we feel can be more favorable in our advantage.
Create different matchups that could be more favorable. What could he be talking about? I don't see what they
for me, in terms of Aaron Rodgers, you can't rattle the guy. I obviously the toe, it may be broken, whatnot, but it doesn't affect him in terms of what we've seen the last couple of weeks. His accuracy, his ability to get the ball downfield is pristine here in terms of what NFL quarterbacks can do. The only thing it may limit him in terms of being able to escape that pass rush, get outside the pocket, break, contain, and get out and make some plays outside the pocket. That's the only thing where it might hurt him. But for me, and I don't know if you guys agree, or although if you agree, like what I would do with the Bears is I play coverage. I drop back and I rush my 4 guys. Obviously, with Mac not in this game, that's going to hurt. Occasionally, I blitz Roquan Smith or a linebacker or whatnot. But if you blitz Aaron Rodgers on a consistent basis, you're going to just asking for trouble, right? You already had some issues in the secondary in terms of coverage ability. Do you want Aaron Rodgers, being blitzed, being rushed, with Devontae Adams 1-on-1 versus say Artie Burns or something like that? That's a recipe for disaster in my opinion. So what you got to do is you got to play with 5 or 6 defensive backs and just zone them up and just see if you can kind of get pass rusher with the front 4 guys with him. Now again, he's missing his left tackle. He's on his 3rd left tackle, right? The backup, he's out for the year as well. So could you do that and just generate some pressure on him. The thing about these quarterbacks and these veterans like Brady, Rodgers, is the outside pressure doesn't really bother them that much, especially if they have a nice pocket to go ahead and step up into. So the key, I think, is going to be the interior guys. If Hicks, I don't know if he's going to play or not. I think he's been limited the last couple of days. And
he practiced, and he really wants to play. So I'm hopeful that he'll play.
Hopefully he's a little bit motivated with the comments that Rodgers has made and kind of double down on it this week in terms of him owning the Bears. So, if him and Goldman and those guys in the middle, Bilal Nichols, they get that pocket moving back into Aaron Rodgers, more so than the outside guys. Outside guys just got to keep that rush lane integrity and not give him that escape valve to get out either left or right, and just kind of bottle him in there and just get at him. Now with the toe, maybe less mobile than we've seen him before in the past. So that's the way you can kind of pressure him. But that's what I would hope they could do, is just generate that pressure with their front four, possibly send that guy here and there, just kind of throw things up, mix things up a little bit here. But that's how I think, and just kind of drop back and see if you can cover these guys.
4,000 Clovers has a different take. He says he's going to burn you, but eventually he'll be having double vision if you blitz him. He's human. The fear will eventually get to him. Blitz his ass. I've
seen defensive blitz him, and I've seen him burn him over and over and over again. So you might get him once or twice. I'm not denying that with the blitz, but to continuously blitz him, he's gonna burn you. And then especially if you had top line corners on both ends, and you had guys that can cover, for downfield, you can bring a zero blitz, for example, have one-on-one cover on the outside. Then you could probably get away with that a little bit here and there. But, we've seen the cornerback play has been a little bit consistent, especially opposite of Jalen Johnson. The nickel position, we still kind of talk about Randall Cobb, who's really had a nice bounce back year playing with the Packers. He's out. He had a core surgery, so he's going to be out for this game. So that's a little bit of a help there for the Bears, but they got these other young players that are going to step in there and make plays. So I think blitzing Aaron Rodgers is a recipe for disaster if you continue to blitz him. Mixing up blitz here and there, kind of hiding things, disguising things, that's fine. Just to throw things up a little bit, change things up a little bit. But I think what you got to do is you got to just get pressure, hope to get pressure with your front four guys.
Yeah. Now, in their first meeting this season, two big plays with Rodgers going off schedule. One early in the game. Let me get rid of us here. He gets outside and he runs and he picks up a valuable first down on their way to their first score.
Again, so you got the outside guys coming up. You're bringing on outside edge pressure and nothing in the middle, right? And he's got a big gap right there in the middle, huge patch of grass, and he just steps right into it, runs away, breaks that containment, and gets that easy first down. So that's what I'm talking about. You got to have that lane, rush lane integrity. You got to be able to kind of muster or corral him into that pocket and not give him escape valves like this here where he can get out and run. So this is the pre-toe injury, I believe, this game here. So
correct.
It runs a little bit better here. So I'm not sure if he's going to be willing to do that. Now he'll scamper a little bit here and there just to get a first down, for example, if he needs it. But I think he preferred to just make all his throws in the pocket. That's why I think in kind of cornering him in and getting that pressure in his face. No quarterback likes pressure in their face, guys. If it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, whoever you want, they do not like that pressure up front in their face. So that's why the inside guys are key here. So for me, at least, you bring that pressure in that pocket in. Now the outside guys are kind of, coming in from the outside. He's got nowhere to step up into it. And if you keep your rush lane integrity, those big gaps you just saw there, those don't develop. He can't escape out of there.
Mm-hmm. Now, Danny, take a look at, let me go full frame here. Take a look at Khalil Mack. And I wish he was playing in this game, but he's over on the far right side of the screen going up against the right tackle. Look what he does to the right tackle here. He just says, "Get out of here."
That's the Reggie White one on pump move. He just kind of throws guys out of the way.
But then he's immediately met by another blocker.
Exactly.
And the type of attention that Khalil gets. It's unbelievable.
That's why you see now, this play right here, for example, he doesn't get a sack on it, right? He doesn't even get a pressure on it, but he draws two blockers there. Right. He draws two blockers there, and that helps the defense, right? And unfortunately, there was a breakdown in terms of the quarterback was able to go and escape and get out of there. But that's the kind of effect that Mac has, and him out of that lineup, you're going to be missing that kind of impact on defense.
Right. And then, of course, the other key play that he got off schedule was the touchdown that, of course, we all remember and hate.
Right. But again, see, there's no pressure up front in his face. And that's the key thing is you got to get him away, get him uncomfortable, like get someone in his face to be able to make him, move his feet, move his eyes, look downfield. And while he's doing that, now you got the outside guys coming at him as well. So, Travis Gibson is going to be a guy that's going to be relied upon here heavily to provide some of that pass rush. I know that's a lot to ask for a second-year player. I think he had a strong game last week in terms of his run defense and setting that hard edge, and it just got to get better now in terms of his pass rush. But him and obviously Robert Quinn, and then this is where I want Matt Nagy to see what he does here in terms of motivating this team to come out and play. He acknowledged that the team is aware of what Aaron Rodgers said about the whole "I own you" thing, and I'm not calling the Bears and go up there and upset the Packers, but if the Bears come out here playing with their heads on fire, and just going after the quarterback and making them uncomfortable, that could be something that could build. We talk about it all the time, although we talk about momentum. You get that team believing in itself now. You get a couple of stops here and there, maybe a turnover. Next thing you know, the offense goes downfield, gets a touchdown, and now the Bears think they can beat this team. And then you're gonna see a competitive game. So that's why it all starts up front. Let's see what the coaching staff does in terms of rallying up these guys and using that footage in terms of Rodgers calling them, basically telling them that he owns them. So let's see if they come out with like I said, their heads on fire and just trying to rattle him quickly there.
Exactly. Now, Danny, I don't know if you remember this play, but I remember on the show we did after the Packer game, you talked about this play. This is an excellent example of the 4-man rush. Everybody drops back. Nobody is open. Nobody is open. So he's got to dump the pass off. But what happens? A bad tackle attempt. It's just
that's
so frustrating.
You're gonna have to tackle, right? So if you do get this opportunity, like no one's open, you're covering good, and there he goes, missed tackle, and then that lifts your defense now is susceptible to a big play here. So that's the one thing where you're gonna have to. I think that was Tayshaun Gibson there with the missed tackle, but so this is something that definitely have to work on. We saw the Ole tackle this past game with Xavier Crawford. So I don't know if it's just at this point I've seen so many players do that type of form where they just kind of come in with the shoulder, bump a guy. I'm wondering if it's being taught, to be honest with you. I don't know why they would do that continuously, week in and week out. It's not always the same guy, but it's a defender in the secondary just coming in with that Ole attempt and not really wrapping up and bringing the guy down, which I don't get. Xavier Crawford is a demon on special teams. He's not a guy that shies away from contact. So I'm not sure why he felt like he didn't have to go up and wrap that guy up. I don't know, but that is disconcerting when you see these secondary players week in and week out. And like I said, it's not always the same guy. It's the entire secondary, come up and do that. The only guy, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not just saying this because I like this guy, but I just haven't seen DeAndre Houston-Carson do that. I've seen him come up and be physical in terms of run defense. Jalen Johnson has been physical in terms of his run defense as well. There was that one. Was that him that with the 2-hand push against the Ravens? Was that I know it was a cornerback. It might have been Artie. It was Artie Burns. It was Artie Burns where he had a 2-hand push.
It was Artie.
Instead of wrapping up and going and making a tackle, he just kind of pushed the guy, and then the guy kept running up the field. So things like that, it just really bothers me when I watch it. I'm assuming that coaches are getting on them as well. But like I said, I've seen in multiple players in the secondary. I can't imagine they're being coached to do that, right? And so that tells me then is if they're not coached to do that, and we continue to see different members of the secondary try those whiff Ole tackle attempts, there's no accountability. They're not being, chastised, or they're not being shown up in front of the team, and they're not being, put in a position where, they're not going to go out there and do that again. So I'm not there. I don't know if that's the case, but you just go off of what you see on tape. And, you were hopping on this from last year, although in terms of the safety is not tackling. And, unfortunately it's gone non this season, but also to other players in the secondary as well. So.
Yep, I totally agree. I got one more Packer play here. I don't remember what it is. Let's see. Another missed tackle attempt. Oh, geez. Short little pass. It's not
that was more like a pick play there.
Exactly. It's a pick play.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a obvious pick play there, and then just the bad angle by Roquan. And again, Roquan's not going to be 100% here, so that's a game where Roquan was 100% and he was moving well there. But that's another thing is he's dealing with that hamstring injury, so he's not going to be out there flying like he's normally is. So the Bears are going to be up against it, man. They're going to be up against it. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to try and go out there and back up his words. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if they put up, 40 plus points on the Bears, to be honest with you, especially with Mac being out and some of the guys not being, healthy. So we'll see. This could be a game. Someone on the bar room, I think it was John Buffon, was saying that this could be the game that forces the McCaskies to go ahead and make that call on Matt Nagy. If they go up there and they put up the Packers put up a 50 burger on them, we'll see. But I don't know. I just don't feel good about this. The only thing that gives me some light there in terms of end of the tunnel, some vision and possibly a victory, like I said, is Akeem Hicks coming back and maybe him being motivated to get Aaron Rodgers. Because when I motivate Akeem Hicks is a dangerous Akeem Hicks, and he's going to probably try and maybe manhandle the offensive line just to kind of prove a point. Hopefully we'll see. And if those guys can then go ahead and just cover and tackle, then maybe we can keep this game close.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Bilal Nichols' name. And it's not like he's having a terrible season, but he hasn't made those big impact, explosive plays.
He'll make a sack here, and then he's gone for next, game and a half, and then he'll make a play here on defense, and he's gone for the consistency is what you want to see with him. He came in 5th round pick, made a splash as a rookie, and you thought, well, this guy's just going to get better and better and better. And now there's times where he's gotten better in terms of as a run defender, being able to take on double teams, being able to stack and shed the line of scrimmage and be a solid run defender. But there's also times where you see him not be stout at the point of contact or point of attack. You see him not generate a consistent pass rush up the middle. So that's another guy that I think he's got a chance to go ahead and be one of these building blocks you put here on defense, and I just got to see the more consistency with him as well too. So, but he's got the potential. He's flashed it. We've seen it. It's just a matter of just getting it on a down and down out basis.
Yep. This is Desai talking about scheming against Rodgers and those very, very small weaknesses that he possesses.
And that's part of the chess match. You try to play to our strengths, play to his weaknesses, and try to bait some things as best you can. Obviously, he's seen all those things, over the course of his career. So it just kind of keep playing it, and you keep keeping some stress on him, just forcing him to think. Force him to think longer than he would normally like to.
That's the key, is get him into, and I understand 4,000 Clover says make him uncomfortable, blitz him, and so forth. Right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't blitz him at all, but I think that for the majority of the time, I do agree with Danny. A 4-man pass rush and good coverage could be an excellent recipe. And if Akeem Hicks is back, and Robert Quinn is playing against a second or third string left tackle, there's a good chance that a 4-man pass rush can get to Rodgers, disrupt them, and frustrate him. That would be awesome to see. The Bears have done it in the past.
Right, and with the intertoe, most likely probably broken, right? So he's going to be less mobile, so that's another way you can kind of corral him there in the pocket. But again, you want him uncomfortable. You don't want him sitting back there and just kind of knowing he's got all day and all time if he doesn't see anything downfield, to dump it off to a running back in the flat or his tight end on the outside there, and just kind of go ahead and get away with the football. So that's the thing is and talk about motivation. If these guys are coming out there motivated to prove, because it's going to be all over the game, right? The pregame in terms of what he said the last time. I'm sure the Bears have heard it. I hope they've heard it ad nauseum in terms of this week from the coaching staff. So, you want a motivated defense to come out there and just kind of prove, to stick it to Aaron Rodgers, if you will. And just, again, bring that pressure up front, cover the back half of the defense, tackle, and offensively go with your identity, go with that running game. And like I said, it's a small signing that it's not, I don't know if they made a big deal, but that fullback, Mason, him being a lead blocker possibly for Montgomery, maybe they're going to rely more heavily on the rushing attack. I can just hope and pray. Am I going to hold my breath? Probably not, but I'm hoping, pray, and then that they can go ahead and just kind of hold that ball, dominate time of possession, continue to run the ball down the throat of the Packers, and then defensively, play with your hair on fire and get after the quarterback, just make them uncomfortable.
Right. David Cousineau has a good question about Eddie Goldman, and we'll get to it right after this clip because it is about Eddie Goldman. Mark Potash asked Sean Desai, why did Chris Tonga have more snaps, more reps than Eddie Goldman last week? Was it because Desai is unhappy with Goldman's play? Here's Sean Desai.
I don't think so. I think Eddie's been playing pretty good for us. It's just part of the rotation. And, I think that game we had, 54, 56 snaps total. So, you got 5 guys or 6 guys up, and you're rotating them, and you end up playing a little bit more nickel than base. And so there's different roles and different situations where different guys go in. So I think that's just a function of how a game plays.
Tonga equally effective as Goldman?
Based on the situation, he can be, and he has been. But, it's easy to go after the game and say, well, this guy should have been in here. And a team like that really doesn't let you substitute. So you got to account for that too, is when you look at the reps and who's getting in the game.
What do you think about that?
I don't know about equally effective as Eddie Goldman. I know Goldman hasn't had a great year, but we've seen games where he's dominated that point of attack at the line of scrimmage, and at no point have I seen Tonga do that. And I know people have labeled me as a Tonga hater. I'm not really a Tonga hater. I just think he's a kid that has got some potential to develop, in the future as a run stuffing defensive line. But I think right now he's being blown off the football, majority of the time, and I don't see him being that as a stout defender like Eddie Goldman. Now, Goldman, again, he's dealt with injuries throughout the season. He had COVID as well, so I don't know if he's got any lingering effects of that. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I didn't even notice that Tonga had more snaps than Goldman during that game as well. So a good point here, though, is the Cardinals do run some of that hurry up, that quick run offense. So that a lot of times they don't give the defense a chance to go ahead and substitute. So maybe Tonga was in to give Goldman a breather. And then because they're running that quick offense, that they couldn't put him back in the game, and he got a couple extra snaps. So, but I'm just kind of watching the game off the tape. I'm sorry, off the TV. I did not notice Tonga was in there much more than any Goldman. But it's something we'll keep an eye on, going further here. But maybe he's dealing with an injury. We're not sure.
Yeah, I don't know either. David's question was, should Eddie Goldman be back next season? And I'm looking at Goldman's contract. He is under contract through 2023, and the cap hit for him will be about $11 million. Is he worth about $11 million as a nose tackle?
And I remember last week we talked my building blocks, and he was one of the 3 guys that I had on the outside looking in, and that's something that I was open to discussion. Like I have no problem bringing him back. It all kind of depends on who you bring in here in terms of what their defensive corner is going to be and what their scheme is. Are you running a 3-4? You're going to need a traditional nose tackle like an Eddie Goldman. Then yes, you definitely bring him back. Even if you run a 4-3, I think Goldman is good enough and stout enough at the line of scrimmage to be able to play that one technique defensive lineman next to a 3 technique, like say a guy like Bilal Nichols, or if you go get a guy that's able to go ahead and be a little more up the field kind of threat there too. So I think there's a spot for Eddie Goldman. Now that cap number is a bit high, especially if you're going to try to be crunching some numbers here, trying to make some more room under the cap to go make a big play for possibly a corner in free agency. If you're going to go try and get a receiver in free agency, we kind of talked about that last week as well. So for me, he's a guy that currently is on the outside looking in on my building blocks list, but definitely a guy that I would not mind bringing back. And again, depending on the scheme and what you're looking for your defensive lineman to do.
If you release him, I'm looking at overthecap.com. If you release him, you do get a cap savings of $6.6 million, but you got about $5 million in dead money, which is never fun to have. But you could save some money. But boy, I hate to draft these good players. A good second round find there by Ryan Pace, and now he's going to go. Leonard Floyd gone when he's having great seasons over with the Rams. On and on it goes. Seems like the good players, don't stick around very long.
That's why I would be hesitant to honestly tell you that I would let him go. It all would depend on who's coming in and how are they going to utilize him. If they're gonna want to go with quick, agile, up the field defensive linemen. They're probably not want to have Eddie Goldman. If they're going to want to, crunch numbers and maybe, have a cap hit their savings here and there, they might want to think about cutting Eddie Goldman. I personally, like I said, I would think long and hard about getting rid of this guy. Even if you play a 4-3 scheme, like I talked about right now, I think he could play that one technique and be that dominant force, up the middle and just kind of enforce or be a solid run defender. Remember, Akeem Hicks is most likely gone, right? So you're gonna need some building blocks. We already talked about a defensive line that's lacking depth now because of all the injuries and all that stuff. You lose Akeem Hicks. Bilal Nichols, I believe, is entering his final year of his contract. If he's not in his final, I think his final year of his contract next year. So, as another guy, you have to kind of, probably re-sign and give some money to as well. So, what are you going to do in the draft? Are you going to bring in some veteran depth. I know the last 2 drafts I've been on here talking on Draft on Tap saying the Bears need to get a quality backup nose tackle to protect for Eddie Goldman. Last year they kind of went through the veteran roulette there with when he went out with COVID. He sat out with COVID. They brought in Jenkins and some of the other veteran guys, and it wasn't the same, right? They weren't an effective run defense last year, and now the Pittsburgh game is all you got to do is put that tape on and watch and see him dominate the line of scrimmage, dominate that center, and how he lived in the backfield of the Steelers there. So you can see how much of an impact that once Eddie Goldman is playing, whether it was health issues or he's got his head on straight or whatnot, he can be an impactful defensive lineman. So I think, just letting that guy go. I believe he's 29 years old, I believe. Aldo, am I correct there? Or is
Correct.
He in his 30s? So it's still a guy in his prime of his career. I would just hate to let him go for nothing, right? So, if I could find a way to keep him on this defense, I definitely would do that.
George wants to know, who is your pick for Bears head coach?
George, I've gone back and forth on this. I think it was a month ago, we talked about some of the guys. One of the guys that I brought up prominently was Brian Dable, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, because I like the way he built the offensive run. Josh Allen, the quarterback there, and kind of gave him the weapons. But the thing about Dable that I've noticed, having watched more Bills games the last couple of weeks, is he also is a guy that gives up on the running game way too quick for me. And that's something that kind of disappoints me. Now, what he does differently than what Nagy does here, Dable utilizes the short passing game as an extension to his running game. Think Bill Walsh back in the 80s and all that stuff, how those short 5-yard passes are like 5-yard runs for that offensive line. So that's what he's done here. But I just think that, and a lot of the Buffalo press are blaming the running backs, but they have some talent there, and Matt Breida, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, these are 2nd and 3rd round picks that, have had success in the NFL. So to me, I haven't dived deep into their offensive film yet, but I just, that lack of commitment to the rushing attack really has me worried. So he's kind of been lowered on my coaching list candidate there. Yeah. The main thing for me, George, is I want a guy that's going to come in here and tell me what his plan is for Justin Fields, whether he's an offensive coordinator guy, whether he's a defensive coordinator, whether he's a special teams coach. Who's going to be offensive coordinator? Who's your quarterback's coach? What kind of game plan do you have in terms of developing Justin Fields? How do you see this offense turning out around Justin Fields? The guy that has a better plan that convinces me that he knows what he's talking about in terms of how he's going to build around Justin Fields is the coach that I would go for. A guy that I've never been high on because of just some of the things he's done in the past. But now, having watched the game, again, might be recency bias, but having watched the Patriots game, Josh McDaniels is a guy that kind of has creep back there for me. Laz, I see McDaniels there. I think he's a guy that, intrigues me right now. The thing with Denver was a disaster, right? He's the guy who wanted Tim Tebow in the 1st round. So that to me is a total, I wipe him off my list right there. But, he's the way he's developed or helped develop Mac Jones. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. There were 2-4. Mac Jones wasn't being thrown to the wolves. They were protecting him, and they were letting him kind of grow into that offense and have that, that rushing attack lead them, and that defense kind of lead them as well. And now that he's getting more comfortable, now you start seeing him throw the football more downfield. Now open up, and Mac Jones doesn't have great weapons, right? Kendrick Bourne is a serviceable journeyman receiver, if you will. Nelson Aguilar is an okay receiver, had a couple of big seasons, but he's not really a consistent superstar receiver on the outside. They're mostly built around the running game. Some of their, they made some nice tight end acquisitions there with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. So they built that game around that running attack, and now they're letting Mac Jones kind of develop. But you saw last week when they said, these weather conditions are not susceptible or not, good for our quarterback or our offense, because we know we can't push the ball down the football field. We're going to run the ball, and I like seeing guys that can take what they can do on offense and just kind of manipulate that and use that to get a big victory, a division road victory in inclement weather. So McDaniels is a guy that intrigues me again now. But again, I want to see who his defensive coordinator is going to be. But the thing with McDaniels, another thing is the Colts thing, where he took the job, accepted it. He was hiring a staff. I think the Patriots were in the Super Bowl. I believe they're going to, and all of a sudden he kind of backed out on Chris Ballard and left him high and dry. Now Ballard did a great job rebounding and getting Frank Reich. But that just put a sour taste in my mouth as well. So we'll see if he's going to be a guy that they're under consideration here. The other thing is, for me, is I see Sanders here at Harbaugh. I don't think Harbaugh's leaving Michigan. I think Harbaugh finally beat Ohio State. I think he's going to kind of build off of that, and he's going to kind of bring in some of the recruits, and he's in the playoff now for the first time in his collegiate coaching career. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think Harbaugh's leaving Michigan. A guy I kind of brought up as a possibility last week, and I think Aldo poo-pooed it immediately, was Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern. I know he's a huge Bears fan, and I think his big thing, why not, he didn't take other jobs because he didn't want to move his kids out of the area and out of schools and all that stuff. With the Bears, he would be there, here, obviously stay here locally. He's a big Bears fan. I think that would be a popular hire amongst the fan base. But again, doesn't matter who it is, I want your plan. Who's going to be your offensive coordinator? Who's going to be your defensive coordinator? So on and so forth. So those are just a couple of names off the top of my head. There's a rumbling I saw on Twitter, I don't know, truth or not, but maybe you can go and you can pry Sean Payton out of New Orleans, right? Yeah. But guys, what has Sean Payton done without Drew Brees? Right? He hasn't done anything without Drew Brees. So that's the thing. It's like, is Sean Payton the offensive guru that we've all thought he was? Who knows? He was fired. Bill Parcells fired him from Dallas. Remember, he was with Dallas. He fired him.
Yeah, but he's grown a lot since then. And look at what they did without Brees last season. When they had a good backup core, when they had Teddy Bridgewater, was a good backup core. I don't think
Bridgewater wasn't with them last year. It was 2 years ago then. It was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think, but the price for Peyton would be prohibitive. I'm not going to trade my only second round draft pick and then go into the draft without a first rounder, a second rounder I'm not going to trade for Sean Payton, which is what I've been hearing. And the Saints are not going to fire him. I don't think he's going to quit. But if he does quit, I would entertain that if he's available, but I'm not trading draft assets for him.
You might have to trade a player for him. The only thing is that because the Saints have no quarterback on their roster that other than Jameis Winston, but I don't think they're big Jameis Winston fans. Anyway, so there's no quarterback. Their quarterback situation is in flux. They're up against the cap. Right, they're an aging team, and then obviously the relationship between Ryan Pace and Sean Payton. I think you could be able to, if you're the Bears or the McCaskies, you can keep Ryan Pace in his GM role, and you can bring in a guy like Sean Payton to coach a football team. I think that would be a big splashy move, and I think that would be something that the McCaskies would go for. But again, we're talking about compensation. With the Saints to kind of just as a goodwill gesture, allow Sean Payton to get out of his contract and come to Chicago if he wants to come to Chicago. Again, this is all speculation. We have no proof that he wants to do that, but that'd be a name that kind of intrigues me. But right now, if you're talking about assistant coaches, the Josh McDaniels intrigues me a little bit. Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator from the Giants, really does intrigue me as well in terms of being a really good coach. But again, we're talking about it. It's going to be a record here, repeated record. What is his offensive coordinator? What is his plan for his offensive coordinator with Justin Fields? Those are the main things I want to talk about.
One other name that's interesting here from Bear Truth 9, Todd Bowles, I think would be a great head coach for the Chicago Bears. And Bear Truth is saying, what if he brought with him the offensive coordinator from the Vikings, a guy like Clint Kubiak, who has been starting to get some raves for the way he's handling that Vikings offense. It's got 36 points in against the Steelers. I
think Todd Bowles would be a good head coach.
Yes.
I just want to know, again, who's going to be his offensive coordinator. Is it going to be a guy like Clint Kubiak? Is it going to be some other guy? I've heard about Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator with the Redskins, being bandied about his name in terms of head coach possibilities. We've heard Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the. I think Kellen Moore, I think he's just still too young in order to, because the thing is not only do you have to be creative offensive minds, but they have to be able to come in and control the room and be able to master the room. And I think Kellen Moore, is only his third or fourth year as the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, might be still, a little bit too young. I think Todd Bowles could come in, and I think players will follow him, and he could lead a team. But it to me is, who is his offensive coordinator and what is his plan? Plus, not only the offensive coordinator, who's his quarterback's coach? And because if Todd Bowles and the Bears are successful, his offensive coordinator is probably going to be a prime candidate. And now if he goes, and then who's going to, you want a guy that just kind of slides right into the chair and kind of picks up where the offensive coordinator that leaves, kind of just goes right there. Because you don't want to. Now I talked about Justin Fields learning a new system here,
Right.
playing in a couple of years, and his offensive coordinator leaves. Now you go get another offensive coordinator. Now you a whole new system. That's what we don't want Justin Fields to kind of fall into. That's what kind of Cutler fell into here with the Bears. So not only offensive coordinator, your quarterback's coach, your offensive line coach, how are you going to build this offense around Justin Fields?
George wants to know about that T-shirt that you're wearing, the Health Kick. Is that the cause you're supporting? What's going on there?
That's my buddy's friend. He's got like a protein shop. It's something that's local here. I live in Morgan Grove, so he's a local guy here. I just support him. Just wear his T-shirt.
Very cool. Nice shirt. Danny, another outstanding show. We could go on another 14 hours. We could go all the way up until kickoff on Sunday. We got so many things we could talk about, but let's save it. Let's keep the audience wanting more, as they say in show business. I think this has been a great look, and I think, I actually feel a little bit better about our chances against the Packers if Allen Robinson plays, if Akeem Hicks is back, and maybe Justin Fields is due for that 3-touchdown game of 250 yards. It would be nice. I'm feeling a little hopeful. Maybe it's because of you. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling a little hopeful.
Well, and you know what? You get Allen Robinson back, and he's back to being the Allen Robinson that we've seen in previous years. You get a healthy Akeem Hicks back, and he's pressuring that, and he's collapsing that pocket, along with Eddie Goldman. But it's you going up with Aaron Rodgers. I believe in his career, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's like 25-3 versus the Bears. Only lost 3 times. You don't have much hope. Like I said, he's going to be out there to go ahead and kind of prove his point, back up his words, and put some points on the scoreboard. So, for me, if the Bears can keep it close with their defense and kind of you continue to run that football and build off of that, which we haven't seen them, consistently do. I think they can keep it close, but I just, I can also see it where it gets out of hand, and then you'll see the Packers kind of trying to run up the score there as well. So I guess if you ask me for a prediction, I think the Packers are going to win this game. If you ask me for a final score, and I suck at doing this, but I'll say, I don't know, 42-17 or something like that. I could see that. I could see that getting ugly like that, especially with, we talked about before, with Mac out, Roquan's not 100%. The corner play has been a little iffy here and there. Given a guy like Rodgers, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong. And a lot of times I am wrong when I'm picking these games. So maybe it's going to be the flip side. Maybe the opposite. Maybe what you're talking about, Aldo, might be a close game, and the Bears can maybe pull it out on a last second, Cairo Santos field goal. That'd be great to see, especially if Justin Fields leads them on that drive to get him that victory. That'd be a huge kind of a moment there for Justin Fields again on Sunday Night Football. Remember, he had that big moment against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football as well. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll be rooting for your scenario more so than mine. That's for sure.
Well, let's not lose all hope with our Chicago Bears. It, of course, realistically doesn't look good, but I'm going to be hoping and praying that they win. Although I am taking the points in the Packers.
The other thing I'm hoping for is no more injuries to Justin Fields, no big hits. Smart about it, go down and live to play another down.
Yep, exactly. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us live and interacting with us. Really appreciate it. If you know people who like talking about Bears, let them know about the show. It's available here on the Barroom Network YouTube channel. You can also find it on our Barroom Network Facebook page, Twitter, etc., and we've got tons of other great programming on demand for you. Next time we are on the air live is Sunday morning, the Barflight Tailgate, guys. I'm not sure if they're going to start that early or delay, but I know they'll be on Sunday, and the Fantasy Football Goon Show will be on about an hour and a half before the kickoffs on Sunday. You got an 8-5 record. I just noticed that about 2-3 hours ago. So you're back in the playoffs, and I've fallen out with a 6-7 record, a 2-game losing streak. Man, I got killed with some bad decisions on who to start and stuff. So good luck in the playoffs, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, and so join us again on Sunday, and thanks again for watching. This is Aldo Gandia for Danny Shimon. Talk to you soon.